in the growth of consciousness, we ultimately go beyond the physical, because we begin to ask questions about existence that are more in depth. And as we ask more of those questions and get more and more answers, we pay more and more attention to what we call the norm. So we learn more and we see more. We no longer accept the physical reality just to be the physical reality. We are very complacent as human beings. We're complacent where we are with our what we think we know. We're complacent with how we live, where we live. We don't really give thought. But for instance, let's take races. Every one of them came out of the Rift Valley in Africa. They moved north. North was cold. Necessity said, well, wow, I need to put some clothes on. So putting on the clothes, getting less sunlight, skin lightened. So we had another group of people. All right. If we just thought about that, we wouldn't have the problems that we have, because we'd understand that we're just all the same people. One just, when you put on the clothes, it kept the sunlight from getting to you, so the skin lightened up. All right. We think of it in terms of, more inventions came out of the northern areas of the world than the southern areas. Well, that's not necessarily true. In southern areas, you had more agrarian kind of cultures, and they tend to build cities, not necessarily in terms of the way we see cities today, and tend to farm. Well, where it's cold, not much grows. So those people who were further north, like the Vikings, say, well, let's go south and find some stuff and take it. So you had a different kind of mentality set up because of environment. If we just thought about those things, if we just looked a little bit more in depth in things, we wouldn't think that one culture has the up over the other. Okay? Well, we construct, or America has constructed around gaining stuff. How much stuff can I get? Stuff. I need more stuff. When you don't really need any more stuff, But that comes out of the cold nature attitude and saying this is the way things should be. And if we look at that, how things should be, idea, it's ruining everything for everybody, because you have a few with a lot who keep taking. Okay? And they just keep taking and taking and taking. If you look, the world is a big place. It's huge. But it's also finite. You can take and take and take until there's no more left. So if we looked at our attitudes, if we look deeper into these things, where we come from, just physically, where we come from, things would change. All right? But my point is, we don't. We say, this is the way it is, this is the way it always has been. So, there you go. Looking into depth about things, looking into depth about how we all formed, how we got here, what is behind all that, gives us a different meaning. We become more, as they say, I'm going to use a word, spiritual. Now, back to perception. When I say spiritual, there are many different ideas of what that means. All I mean when I say spiritual is non-physical. That which is behind it, that which you can't touch. Spirit as opposed to form. Okay? So we become more in touch with that energy that provides us with a compassion for ourselves. Compassion for ourselves. You are myself. See, once you look deeply enough into things, you finally realize that there is no you and I. There's only me, with the perception that there is you or I. But we have to go on that journey. And we don't want to go on that journey because, again, we're comfortable staying where we are. We can say, I'm a male, I'm an American, I'm whatever all the things is we say about ourselves. I have to defend myself, I have to do all this. Well, this keeps us in a little ball. It keeps us on the block we came from, as opposed to living in the world. We want to stay there because we want to defend that. I have to defend that. I have to defend my blackness, I have to defend my whiteness, I have to defend my Chineseness or my Mexicanness. We don't go beyond that. If you remember, I talked about what happened that night was I asked questions about myself. Then I asked questions about the world. And then I asked questions about what was behind that. See, that's the way we have to move. What is behind that? And once we get behind that, we realize, oh, there is but one thing. And one thing that perceives itself as different. Excuse me. It perceives itself as divided into various things. I am me. Yeah. But we don't notice that me is the same. We have the same feelings for things. Does that tell us something? We have the same consciousness or views. When I say views, we see the world. We may not see it clearly, but we see it. It's the same thing. So, our questions, and we have to move from where we are. Excuse me. All right, so we have to accept change. And that changes the energy. Okay? We have to accept questions. We have to accept the idea that everything is as it is, but it's not as it always has been, nor is it what it always will be. We have, I watched a couple of things, and there were people who were questioning whether in this universe that we are the only intelligent beings. When you look at the size, you look at the Milky Way. What's the Milky Way? 100 million light years across? That is light traveling at 186,000 miles per second, times 60, which is 60 minutes in 1 hour, times 24, the number in 1 day, times 30, the number in 1 month, or 31, times 12, the number in 1 year. That's how far light will go in 1 year. You got a number. Okay. Now you're talking about 100,000 times 100,000. And some moron says, well, there's no other intelligence in the universe. Well, no, you're just talking about the Milky Way. The Milky Way, one galaxy out of billions of galaxies. When we just look at stars, you have, what is it, the Earth will fit into the sun over, what, 1 billion times? Not a billion. Huh? Not a billion. Whatever. What is it, 1 million? Okay. The Earth will fit into that 1 million times. Do you realize you have a sun that the sun will fit into 1 million or 1 billion times? A sun. Okay. The place is large. Okay. All right. So the person says, well, I never met a person from another planet. Well, you don't know that. The point is, you can't say that there is not. All you can say is, I don't know, which invites a question. If I don't know and honestly say I don't know, then I have the possibility of finding out, of opening my mind. Okay? We get confused with things because we have an idea as to the way it should be, the way it's supposed to be. We don't look at the other option. It is the way it is. It is the way it is. Look at the law. The way we flow our energy is directed by our belief systems, how we think about things. How we think about it. Now this is where the pain comes in. When you really find out, it's not like you believe. It's not like you think. It is what it is. This is a difficulty in dealing with each other. This is a difficulty. I see when this happened to me, I thought, wow, people are going to want to know. They don't want to know. I found that out. I thought, well, they'll talk to me. They don't know me. They won't talk to me because they don't know me. What they do is they filter me through themselves. That's why we don't get along. And I say we don't get along. I don't participate. And I don't participate, people back away. How can we talk to each other when I know who you are because I abide by the rule? I don't know who you are, therefore I have to pay attention. And when I pay attention, I know who you are. I know who you are, I know what you're saying, I know what you understand and what you don't understand in this moment. Why? Because you're telling me. You are absolutely telling me, and I have no opinion about whether you do or don't. I'm just looking at you and listening to you. When on the other hand, the other person is assuming that I'm like them, and that I would be doing the thing that they would be doing had they done what I did. So I say, if you're not going to talk to me, if you're not going to listen to me, key words here, to me, what is the need of what we're doing? Then I just kind of move away. We can't have what we should have because one of us isn't paying attention to the truth. Different energy flow. One, the energy is flowing toward what is true. And that's no big thing. It's not saying you're above anybody or anything like that, or they're beneath you. We're just different. I don't spend a lot of time talking to rocks or trees because we're different. We speak a different language. The rock knows I'm not a rock, okay? Tree knows I'm not a tree, okay? So we just don't spend a lot of time hanging out at the club together, you know. Energy flow. Energy flow toward what is, toward what is true. You see, if I want to get along with you, I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. And for me to know who you are, I have to know who I am. One of the reasons why we have to acknowledge and see crazy within ourselves, so that we know it when we see it in others. We know it when we see it, because I acknowledge it in here. I acknowledge when I am not looking at what I'm doing in a situation. Wow. Okay, now what is it you're saying to me? Then I was way over here. Why am I over there when this person is talking to me? We have to acknowledge that another person is a human being. I'm not particularly political, but I want you to listen to a wing of the Republican Party. There's a group of them who feel like they can just shout loud, and that's the truth. They don't talk. They don't listen. They say absurd stuff. They deny the intelligence of the people they're talking to. You know, because I have gone, what? You're just lying. You're making an excuse. A hurricane hit the coast of America. Well, if the Democrats had done so and so, the hurricane would have took a turn and went out into the... It's like you're blaming something on someone that has nothing to do with it. I mean, and I'm just saying, look at this. This is only a certain segment of the population. Just think about it. So it's an example of how when you do things yourself in conversations with other people and hook things up that have nothing to do with anything, it's like, that's ridiculous. Are you nuts? Are you absolutely nuts? What's wrong with you? You begin to look at things in this way because your energy is now flowing toward asking the question about truth at deeper and deeper levels. That energy is about surface stuff. that pools. And when we get pools, we get stagnation. Okay? We get stagnation, we get poison. Or we poison ourselves. So we have to open up and see differently. We have to see when something is made of something that's just not true. Do we want to solve problems? If we want to solve problems, we'll notice that the entire energy of the world will change. If we want to solve the problem, if we don't want to solve it, then the energy of the world will not change. The way we do our economics, the way we do things, will not change because we have become a consumer world. Stop. Well, that's going to take us to the end, I think. Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with stuff. Some stuff is good. Like 55-inch TVs where you can watch the Bears all. That's good stuff. That's old George Carlin joke. Why is it when it's mine, it's stuff. When it's yours, it's crap. Well, energy flow. It's not something that you can normally put your finger on. But when you take the other than normal view and you look and you feel, something has changed. Something is different. So you get a different flow. If you notice with any great change in this country or in the world, well, let's take for instance the 60s. How the energy flowed. See, we had been trying to get leaders. We had been trying to select leaders for the civil rights movement and, the general rights movement. Didn't work. Suddenly there was a movement. And a young man out of Alabama or out of Georgia, I forget where he was from. People just started to follow and to listen. A movement was born because an energy was there. This person became a lightning rod for that energy. Flow. Okay. Perceived, felt, flow. Hippies beginning to say, young people beginning to say, well, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. Okay? Women had been trying to get what was rightfully for them. It didn't coalesce until this time. It all came together at this point in the 60s, where you felt an energy flow, a change in energy. The perception of that change, perception of that energy was change. It was energy that had already flowed. It just was not flowing in a direction. The perception, the idea of it, the thought about it. Everybody came together at one point and said, well, wait a minute. I'm tired of this. This person said, well, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. Well, let's all get together and be tired of all this crap. A different energy flow. It was there all along. The perception. Somebody has to be tired. Someone has to be tired. Okay? Events shift. these flows. Someone in the North talked about one of the things that made them change their opinion of what was happening to black people in the South was the vision of Bull Connors spraying people with fire hoses and little children. What that did was clicked. It's like a child. Somewhere in that person or in those people, the vision of a child being treated like that. Dogs being put on a child. Whoa. It clicked. Shift of energy. Well, we got to do something about this. For another person, it was Viola Luiso, a white woman from the North went south and was killed by rednecks. It clicked in them. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, there's something wrong here. We can't have that. A shift in energy. Now, we may all have not come to the same place for the same reason, but ultimately we came for the same reason, that thing which is right. So, on our individual quest, it is a thing that is right, and to be able to accept the truth within us, the truth within you that says, I need to do what's right by me, and what I'm doing is not right. So a shift in energy. When you are angry, you're not doing what's right by you. You think you are. Well, I have the right to do this, but look, I want to look at what you're doing to your internal being, your internal organs. Look at the stress you're causing yourself. Look at the tension you're putting on what's inside of you, blood pressure, all these things. And then we end up dying too soon, or we end up we're crazy, or whatever it is we are. And we don't know why. We end up with cancers. We don't know why. It's because of the stresses that we're putting on ourselves, a lack of positive energy flow or clean energy flow within our bodies. Lack of clean energy flow. It is much more important than what you eat. We like to think, oh, well, we can change what we eat. I'll become strict vegetarian, or some people I know, New York, guys who won't shake hands with women. Because the energy, they suck the energy out of you. It's like.
But they'll do other things with women?
Well, they'll only, now I didn't go real deep into it.
I'm just checking.
Well,
Don't touch their hand.
Well, I didn't go real deep into it, but what one guy says, well, we'll only touch our mothers and sisters. So I don't know. Hey, I didn't go that deep into that question. So, what is most important is what you do inside. You see, you have the power to change things. Eating well, these kinds of things are good. But most important is the internal environment, the energy flow that's in you. If you hear me, I said you got to give it all up, including the negativity. Giving up, adding of stress. See, this process has to be done gently. The things that happen to you will cause you stress, but that's been happening all along. So what must be seen is how we create the stress trying to get there. And when you can only get there by letting go of it all. this is a point that's very difficult. It's absolutely impossible to explain how you do that. But there comes a point where the stress has to make you think you're going to die. And you go, I surrender. But at that moment, you have to also surrender the idea that you want to die. This allows for a different flow of the energy. The stress has to be so bad, or the pain has to be so bad, there's nothing left. If you recall, one of the things I said, I was at the end of my rope. I was ready to die. And in being ready to die, I asked the right question. It's one of the reasons that I can say the greatest truth to an individual. They don't get it because they're not ready to die. They're not ready to allow all that stuff in there to just die. They think they know. I'm going to say it, but I mean it not in an egotistical way. They think they know as much as I do. And see, and that goes back to talking to an individual for who they are. Well, when they think that, they can't hear, which means they're not ready to die, because all that's being told to them is a simple truth. This is what has to happen. That night, I had no place to go except to the truth. Why is my life so crappy? Because you're an asshole. Plain and simple. And what could I say? Yeah. And I can see all the things that I've done. And I accept that. All the ways that I've been. Man. The load is now off. I no longer have to carry the tension of pretending to be something. I can just be me. But what if people don't want to accept me? I now see me for who I am. I see them for what they are. Exactly for what they are. Okay. I got no problem. And the next question. So it's that moment. The stress was given up. The stress of even asking the question. Then the question was asked from a point of view of joy. I want to know. Wow. Wow. But the questions were about the nature of things. Okay? I say the nature of things. The nature of earth, the nature of form. Then what is behind that? The nature of that. You see? Not the nature of doing business. Because that comes, I mean, how you do things becomes very clear. How things are done becomes very clear. Now the issue becomes, do I want to do that? The answer is pretty much no. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. I understand it. It's not me. So in that moment, you start doing what you are. Now that doesn't mean just in coming to see and to coming to that point of understanding, it doesn't mean that I can't participate. When I say it doesn't matter to me, it means I have no dog in the fight. Doesn't mean I can't do it or understand how it's done, but I'm not personally involved. I can do it, whatever it is. I can do it. But I'm not personally involved. It's not going to, if I win or lose, it's not going to make a difference. Now, if we don't come to that naturally, that point in our questioning, then we go, well, I don't care. When you do care, okay? Oh, you say, well, I don't care. It's a negative. When I say I don't care, it means I have no opinion. I have no opinion. I just got up, went in the bathroom, threw up, came back, made a little joke. Doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, it means something in that I had to throw up. It's like, why is that? Okay. Come on out. Okay, where was I? It's different. It's different, but that means you have to adjust. You have to come to this as you have to come to it from a point of view of death. I guess that's the only way I can say it. When you're that tired, when you're so tired, you no longer want to play the game. One of the things I've come across in dealing with people, and you ladies listen carefully because particularly I find it with women, they'll come to the point where they say, well, I'm tired of the way things are. I just don't want it to be that way anymore. I just want to die. Well, that's the wrong wanting to die, okay? What you want to come to is not you not playing the game anymore. About you. About you. Not about it, because that's what we tend to do. They are this way, they are that way, the other way, no. When you no longer want to play the game of you. It's the same for men, but it's slightly skewed slightly differently. We have to not want to play the game of being a big bad dude. We just have to be what we are. And what we are is, from the point of view of flowing energy, is very gentle. And we have to come to that. When we come to the point where we want to die, there's a gentleness. And I accept that gentleness. And I'm just being big and bad enough to go through the rest of my life being very gentle. and very kind. Follow what I'm trying to say here about that moment? I come to you. You follow what okay. So, that's where you have to come to. You accept it because you heard me say in the last few lectures, I watch people talk and it's all very strange. I talk and it's all very strange. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with anything. I see their lips moving and words coming out, and it's like, that's really strange, you know. Or anything for that matter, making these sounds. It's coming from a whole other place. It comes from, depending upon what you have to say, what has to be said in a moment. It comes from that part that knows something about that, but your consciousness, your greater consciousness, could care less. Or could not care less is a better statement. You get used to that. See, one of the problems we have is we want to be meaningful. Well, you are meaningful. You don't have to be meaningful. You're meaningful because you're here. You're taking up space, okay? That means you're meaningful. Somebody's got to go around you. You're here. The other thing wants to be meaningful in another kind of way. Well, what you really are doesn't care about that. So it just watches you. You say some very meaningful stuff. I watched Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Hitler, and I watched these tapes. I didn't get it. What I'm saying is, I hear your words. It's not meaning anything to me. I'm watching people, thousands of people, react in the energy. What it said to me is they don't know who they are when they are moved by something that is kind of meaningless. Because when you know who you are, now, I'm not talking about when you know who you are here. When you know who you are, that thing that just, none of the negativity are you even interested in. There's no interest in any of that. So how are you going to be moved by what you already are? You're already doing it, so it's already a part of what you are naturally. You know, I watched Hitler move all these people, and he looked like a puppet. He's all jerky, looked more like Richard Nixon. I am not, you know, it's like,
so
wow.
He's tying into that energy, they're responding to it.
Right. They're responding to, they're opening the key, open the doors within themselves to something that is already there, and then they're putting it on an idea. Okay. See, when your structure is your neighborhood, you want to protect that neighborhood. If your neighborhood is small, that's what you want to do. It's why it's important to get to know different cultures and different people, so your neighborhood becomes larger. It's important to go within and to understand greater and greater portions of oneself, so that your view becomes greater. Okay. Once your view becomes greater and you understand we're all one people, no matter if we come from Jupiter or St. Louis or Detroit or wherever, no matter whether our skin is brown, black, white, yellow, whether we're 5 feet tall or 8 feet tall, it does not matter. Because we've understood that we are the same. So someone talking about our difference just looks very foolish. Okay? But those with smaller views will fall into those categories and follow stupidly. That's the choice. I know. It's you just go, wow, man. How weird is that? It's pretty stupid, isn't it? It makes no sense. But to a lot of people, it makes perfect sense.
So like the movie 12 Years a Slave.
The what?
12 Years a Slave.
Oh, movie. I thought you said boobies. What?
The slaves were not the people. The people that were the most enslaved were the slave masters.
Yes.
In the ideas that they had, they were just to the point where you would be willing to do that to another person. I was like, damn.
You're crazy.
How far gone do you have to be? But what it speaks to is that thing in us. Not in them, but in us as a whole, in everybody, the indifference of that.
Yes. Yes. What it speaks to, see, it's the same thing. We just don't want to admit it. It's the same prison. It's not the same particular, but the prison is the same. Whether it's about anger, whether it's about whatever it's about. It enslaves you. That's why I used to get in trouble in certain groups where I would say, no, you don't have to worry about being enslaved by the white man. The slavery is in your own mind. You have to free yourself from what you think. And it's like there was I think it was a senator from one of the western states who voted for some dumb stuff, and he got up and said, well, if my constituency wanted slavery again, I would have to vote for that. And one of the black persons on the panel said, well, we ain't going for that shit again. No, we see what it is the freedom from the idea. It says, oh no, the freedom from the idea at this point in time. Now, at that point in time, there are several layers of movement that was important. It was important that the beginning be here. Okay, and what you're going to find in America, it's going to take a while. You're going to find a return to the original. Okay, that is where every group of people are going to come back to the original, where they came from.
Meaning a single race?
A single race, but it will be different. It's like See, you have to look at things spiritually. Well, you don't have to, but you come to a point where you see it, where it allows you, where when you open up enough, you see what the plan is. From that single valley, from that single group, the experiences of that group were not enough to expand the consciousness. So, parts of that group had to go east, had to go west, had to go north, had to go south, in order for the environment to bring about changes. And in bringing about all those changes, you see, you're still talking about the same people, they just kind of look different. There has to be a place where it comes back together and brings back all those experiences to one place in order to uplift the whole. This is what America is. Now, we have to fight through a bunch of our stupidity. If you will notice, in breeding anything, you take these things, you bring it together, and usually what comes out is the strongest of both. That is nature's way of talking about the uplifting of all of humanity. This is what you're going to have in America. Of course, you also get the worst. You don't just get the best part, but you get the worst. That's part of it too. Okay. We may not like it. We may not want to hear it. All I'm saying to you is, this is what it is. You can like it or you can lump it. Doesn't matter to me. This is what it is. This is what is here. And it's going to happen. All these ideas from all over the place. It's just like when you talk about medicine. You're talking, now you can go to the doctor, and some doctors you can talk about who will say, yeah, well, let's give you some acupuncture for that. Okay? Or let's treat you in this way along with this. Whereas before, no. Oh, them Chinese, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They've only been around for 10,000 years before, they don't know. Yeah, right. So what we find is that knowledge coming back together, and what's going to come out of that is something better. All right? So this is where we are. Again, we will want to stay different, but we're going to want to stay the same, but we can't. It is not the law. And that's why we're here. Those people, no matter how brutal they were, how ignorant, how, I don't know what to say, but it took that in order for the African to get here. Okay? We didn't have those kinds of boats. Chinese had that kind of boat. Okay, to get here. We didn't have that kind of boat. So we're here. We may not like it. Okay? I grew up in Mississippi. All right, you think about it now. 1864 to 1964 was 100 years. I was alive. I wasn't alive from 1864 to 1964, but I was alive during a 100-year period. You look at it now, I'm almost 80 years old. Okay? So that 100 years is not a very long time. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not a very long time. I have experienced that whole thing, not personally being a slave, because they sent me out there to pick cotton, and I was out there for a couple of hours, and I said, "The hell with this! I'm going to college. I see the light." No, 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 we're not going to do this. We're not going to pick cotton, okay? But I had a choice. You see, I had a choice. Other people didn't have that choice. But what you understand, see, you have to understand for your benefit, the individual benefit as well as the benefit of the whole. You have to understand, slavers were some sick puppies. These were very sick people. But at the same time, only the sickest could have made the possibility of the future possible. Do you follow what I'm saying? Only the sickest could have made that possible. Only the sickest in quote, civilization could have made civilization possible. You look at the civilizations of the world, they were based on conquest, going, killing people, taking their stuff, burning down their houses, raping their women and children, and just all kinds of crap. We look, oh, look at Alexander. He was a great general. 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 What do generals do?
Make war.
Make war, kill people, take people's stuff. Oh, well, get over there and build me that house. Now you build that house, or we're going to kill you. Okay. So all of a sudden you got a city coming up. Everybody's all civilized because somebody with a sword or an axe or whatever did it. So when you look at history, civilizations were born not out of kindness, but out of people killing people, taking their stuff, doing stuff to them. All I'm saying is you have to look at it, see it for what it is, and accept what it is. That doesn't mean you like it. That doesn't mean you will be that way. It means in order for me not to be hateful, in order for me not to be full of stress, full of tension, I have to accept it for what it is. In order for me to upraise civilization, I have to accept that because that is the thing that has to be passed on. The greatness of what the human spirit is. The thing you want to realize that every experience that you have, every emotional experience that you have, is passed on to the next generation through your genes. Everything that has ever happened to mankind in the history of mankind is encoded in the genes. Not even, or even before the history of mankind. The history of the world is encoded in your genes. Everything is there in your DNA, I'm sorry. Everything is there. So to learn to be greater than the ignorance is passed on. To be ignorant is passed on. It's passed on through your DNA, it is passed on through your actions with each other. So we have a choice, and choice may be a hard choice. But either we want to be better or not. I once had a conversation with a man who owned John Barleycorns. And he was talking about his father. Oh, my father was a bigot, was this and that and the other, and so and blah, blah. And I just asked him one question. I said, did your father want you to be a better man than him? He said, yes. I said, well, then he succeeded, so what's your problem? We want to be better men. better people, better human beings. Pain has taught us, some of us, to be better. So what's your problem? Peace. Thank you.